My colleague Neil Harvey discussed the political correctness matter with commentator Imran Shah and Graham Moore from the English Democrats Party.
TV anchors in Europe criticised for wearing Christian symbols. Is this not going too far? What happened to religious freedom?
You know, when we look at a secular democracy and when we look at a Europe that has been living a legacy that is completely divorced from state and faith, I think it's totally reasonable in that regard. However, I think like a lot of these issues, you know, a lot of it has been essentially been blown up out of proportion, and these issues are quite minor.
It is disgusting. I believe that anybody, and that includes, to be fair, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, anyone should be allowed in a secular society to display their religion outwardly. In a strange way, it is Christians that are being persecuted by their own states.
Yes, there is generally a big case for secularisation, sorry, a big sort of push for secularisation, which is affecting both Christians and Muslims and other faiths. But Muslims are facing the brunt of it. We're facing hate crimes, we're facing attacks, and we're facing a media that's essentially using that as the thin edge of a thick wedge.
You think that Muslims are being persecuted more than Christians? What about the fact we've just had a dozen people killed at a Christmas market? Clear religious connection there.
We shouldn't really sort of classify it as purely Islamic, but purely actually something that's come from foreign policy, especially when it comes to ISIS, because that's essentially come directly from our involvement in Iraq.
It's most definitely a religious issue, and the issue, in honesty, isn't Muslims against Christians. It's Muslims against all kafirs, and that means Hindus, that means Jews, that means all others, and it also means there are certain, for example, some Muslims are happy to wish me a Merry Christmas. Those Muslims are the ones that are then persecuted by the orthodox Islamists or the orthodox Muslims. Anyone who is a non-believer, in their eyes, is a target.
Security issues now, freedom of movement in Europe. Do you feel that border control needs to be strengthened to stop the free movement within the EU?
Most definitely. A group of people called the Fabian Society that believe in open borders. One way or the other, we need to remove them from politics.
That's not actually going to solve the issue, because it's actually going to cause more people taking more extreme measures to actually get to where they need to go in order to try and save their life. And that's the crux of the matter. Rather, we need to actually be more humane and actually treat these people as human beings rather than demonising them as cockroaches and whatnot that we've seen in the past 5 years or so. It's ridiculous.